Welcome back. Governor Cuomo recently announced the close of indoor dining within New York City. With the recent restrictions, restaurant owners have struggled to stay open and they fear what the winter will do to their businesses. Joining us now to discuss is the Belmont Business Improvement District Treasurer, Frank Franz. Frank, thank you so much for joining us.
No, my
Can you tell me a little bit about the Belmont Business Improvement District?
Oh, we're one of many business improvement districts in the city that are organized by the merchants of this community to turn around and promote the economic development of the area. So here we represent the historic Little Italy district centered at Arthur Avenue and 187th Street. And we do our best to, keep business lively and just create opportunities, both in employment and business for people who want to invest up here.
So let's discuss the new restrictions on restaurants and bars. What are business owners being told they have to do now, and how are they feeling about it?
Well, the restaurants have to close down all indoor dining, which, as it was only at 25% to begin with. As a former restaurant owner myself, I could tell you that restaurants do not make money at 25% to begin with. Most of our restaurateurs, many of whom have been here for decades, in some cases a century, reopened with the outdoor dining and the 25% indoor capacity, knowing that they weren't going to make anything, but just want to keep their employees, give them a paycheck, feed their families, and keep them employed. The loss of this 25% of indoor dining is going to put everybody in the red. And on top of that, the outdoor component is not really feasible going into cold weather. I was just out today myself to join somebody for a cup of coffee. We couldn't sit outside, for 2 minutes. We went and got in my car to have the meeting. Several of our businesses have already taken in their outdoor dining stands because they're just not going to do it. And most of the others are not in use at present, and I doubt if they will be. We're still at the beginning of the winter.
Now, Arthur Avenue is home to Bronx's Little Italy section in the Belmont section of the Bronx. Can you tell us how some of those restaurant owners in particular are feeling about this shutdown, especially since outdoor dining is going to have to shut down because of the weather?
They're frustrated and irate. It seems that this segment, we're all being hit with what's going on nowadays. So I don't want to turn around and give the impression that restaurant owners are the only people affected, but they are among the groups that are most severely affected, have been for a long time. And they employ in New York hundreds of thousands of people, many of whom are at the lower, income levels. So it impacts their lives even more. And when we turn around and look at the statistics, for the last year, I've been hearing people say, follow the science, follow the science. Well, from what I understand, 74% of infections are coming about from personal contact with people and at home. Restaurants are among the lowest percentage at 1.4%. That's restaurant and bars. When you turn around and take the bars out of it and people drinking and just come down to restaurants, it's actually even much lower. And since it's one of the lowest areas of where this illness is spreading, I don't see why they are taking the brunt of the economic hardship.
And, Frank, as the treasurer, please tell us how businesses in the Belmont district performed before the pandemic and how much this performance has dropped during the last 9 months.
Well, before the pandemic, you couldn't get in a restaurant on the weekend. We're a weekend neighborhood. 83.5% of our business comes from an area 5 miles away, not from the Bronx, but from Westchester, Connecticut, et cetera. So Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, the neighborhood is packed, and that's when people make their money, not so much during the week. So when you turn around and limit things to 25%, it's not a matter if it's a 25% all week. During the week, you might not be doing 25%. But on the weekend, when you're making your profit, 75% of that has been pulled away, and now 100% of it has. The neighborhood was quite busy. We had new business. We still have a few new businesses that have opened, trying to weather the storm because they know the potential of our community.
And what do you think it's going to take to recover from this?
Obviously, once the vaccine is out and restrictions are removed, I think our community will come back very quickly because we have a very dedicated group of people who patronize our neighborhood. So, but as far as the rest of the city, I think we have a real problem. There are many businesses, restaurants, hotels, and other businesses that have permanently closed. They're not going to pop back up. We used to get tens of millions of visitors a year. That's not going to come back right away. So that's going to have a downward pressure on all types of entertaining, hospitality, food industry things. The city and state budget is in a crisis already, and this is going to cost a fortune in tax revenues. So I think the city and state has a long period ahead of them to try and get back to normal. And I don't know if it will unless there's the right, political and business desire to make that happen.
If you could contact Cuomo, what would you suggest to him to move forward with regulations in the restaurant industry?
Well, the first thing is I think you should talk to more people who are restaurateurs and not necessarily, the big chains or the well-known celebrity chefs, but all the little mom and pop restaurants that constitute the majority of it out there and get firsthand information. Secondly, I think he should look at his own data, to see that these moves aren't warranted. I believe we have one of the lowest infection rates in the country. Our schools have virtually none. And what adds insult to injury is that we're closing down in New York, where I live in the Bronx. In 4 minutes, literally, I could be in Westchester and eat indoors. So, I mean, what is it about New York restaurants that are, causing this virus to spread? Well, obviously, that is not the case. Even before this, restrictions like closing at 10 o'clock at night. I really couldn't understand that. I mean, is there any scientific proof to show the virus spreads faster late at night than during the day? It's really sort of ludicrous. Or the fact that you can't sit down at a table and have drinks. You have to eat. If 4 people are sitting at a table, I think whether they're having a bowl of soup or having a cocktail will not turn around and affect the spread of this virus. So there's actually quite a few rules that we in the industry and we in our community just don't understand where they came from. And if there is some real justification for this, we'd like to see it, but we can't find it anywhere. And we've asked, and no one has supplied us with any information to justify what has been going on for quite some time, let alone what is happening now.
And can you tell us a little bit about, the rules that exist for outdoor dining as far as eating, spacing, all of that?
Okay, well, if you were to continue the outdoor dining, for one thing, you can't have an enclosed tent outside. At least 2 sides have to be open, which means you'll never get it warm enough. I mean, when it goes down, New York winters, when it's 10, 20 degrees, today it's almost 40 and it's still too cold to be out there. Either it's going to be ice cold or you're going to be running heaters so hot that it's going to be too hot. And going from hot to cold is not good in the middle of the winter, let alone the people waiting on the tables are going to be going from inside a warm restaurant outside into freezing weather, into a warm tent, back and forth. It's not good for the employees either.
What happens if businesses do not abide by restrictions? I know I spoke to a couple of business owners over the past couple of weeks, and they tell me that they've been visited by the city multiple times. And when they do get those visits, it's multiple times in 1 week, and they're all saying different things. So what happens when, they don't think they meet the restrictions?
Well, as far as I could see right now, all our restaurateurs in our neighborhood are obeying the rules. We had that problem when this first started. The city was changing the rules every other day, and we had inspectors coming through every other day from DOT and other agencies, everyone telling somebody to do something different. So a guy does it one way, next inspector comes, says that's the wrong way, change it back. All this, costing a lot of money and taking time, and there's been no clear direction from the beginning in this entire issue, which is why I'm fairly convinced that many restaurants in the city are just going to close down now without the 25% inside. When they allowed the outdoor dining, that was not profitable, but a lot of people started it, seeing it as the road back to recovery. Then they got the 25% indoors. All right, now they're paying the bills. Now they're looking for the 50% so that maybe the owner could put a few dollars in his pocket or more. Now that we've taken a giant step back in removing that 25%, and we're heading into the winter and a questionable future for outdoor dining, I think most restaurants are going to close down. It's just not worth it to stay open. They'll be losing money every month. It's one thing not open. It's another thing taking money out of your pocket, every month. And it's just not a viable economic situation for most restaurants.
And Frank, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Well, simply, I hope this is over with as soon as possible. That's all I could say. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in the country that feels that way.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time. We will be right back.